Welcome to the Rick Fuller Podcast, presented by Rick Fuller, the team leader of the Rick Fuller team, which serves the San Francisco Bay Area and Sacramento County. Rick and his team have almost 1,000 five-star online reviews and have been honored as a distinguished small business by the California State Assembly and Senate. Rick is a community leader, national real estate coach, and real estate investing expert. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketing specialist, and today we're going to talk about financing options for those relocating. With such an important topic, we're fortunate to have with us today Sadie Benson. Sadie is Senior Mortgage Consultant at Lone City Home Loans. Sadie is a licensed mortgage broker offering residential mortgages to borrowers throughout California. With passion for providing borrowers the best home mortgage financing to fit their individual needs, Sadie prides herself on being a low-cost, high-quality mortgage loan broker. She's also known for her love of animals and food and wine. So Sadie, we're going to be good friends. So Rick, as we get started, can you share a bit about how you met Sadie and why she is the perfect guest to inform us about mortgage financing in this crazy hot market?
You bet, Christina. Thank you and welcome, Sadie. We're so glad to have you. Sadie was licensed about the same time that I was. She was licensed in 2005. I was licensed in 2003. She's been in the industry for a long time. And she has been serving a lot of our clients that are moving into that greater Sacramento region. We talk about it all the time, the migration that's occurring from the Bay Area to this Sacramento region: Folsom, El Dorado Hills, Granite Bay, Roseville, Citrus Heights, even Placerville and Elk Grove. And they're making this massive migration to these communities. And Sadie's made the move herself. So Sadie's moved from the Bay Area to the Sacramento region. She has an office in Roseville. She's extremely knowledgeable, has a degree in finance, and I can't think of a better person to help our clients making the move, because she's done it herself and she knows how to do it. And the combination of those two provides what we call the kind of experience that people are excited to tell a friend about. And so Sadie, thanks for having this conversation with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
So Sadie, why did you become a mortgage broker and what's the best part of your job?
I became a mortgage broker by accident. I actually have been in the real estate side of life since I was in high school. So my first job was kind of an admin assistant in a commercial real estate firm in Sonoma County. And I got to be around all these people wheeling and dealing these really big transactions. And I was like, this is amazing. Looks easy and I want to do it. And it wasn't easy. And so selling real estate wasn't exactly my favorite thing once I got licensed. And I interviewed for a commercial lending position actually in El Dorado Hills and was offered the job and literally knew nothing about loans at all. I had never bought a home. I was young. And so started commercial lending and it was absolutely amazing. Loved every second of it. Me and my co-owners of our company started our own from that branch. And then the recession hit. And so we switched over to residential. From there, I worked for banks as loan officer at banks in Colorado, and then actually said, you know what, brokering is my favorite, and came back. So that's what I have been doing. I think I like it the most as a broker because I can fit my clients' needs into what they actually need, as opposed to trying to force them into the one product that like a bank would offer or something like that. So really, we're just helping people buy homes, which is pretty fun and amazing.
That's awesome. So Rick, there are many pieces of the puzzle when it comes to buying and selling a home. Why is it important for a buyer to have the right mortgage broker on their side?
Well, it's a great question, Christina. And even more today, in the environment of COVID, the value of home has never been more important. You go and you pick up food at a restaurant, you don't eat there anymore, you take it to your home. Right now, we are doing this podcast from our home. We don't go on cruise ships anymore. We don't go on an airplane. We take staycations from our home. We don't go to a movie theater. We stay home and watch a movie today during COVID. And so everything occurs at our home. And you go on vacation and you come back and you open the front door and you are home. And so the value of home ownership has never been greater. And people don't make this transition very often, moving from one home to the next. The average person makes the move every 5 to 7 years. And what we found is when they make the move, they never forget about it. Their kids don't forget about the move. Their parents don't forget about their move, the spouses, even aunts and uncles. And today in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the Sacramento region, it's a multi-generational home. So you're taking a lot of your family with you and you never forget about the move. I remember eating pizza on moving boxes. I remember in my life when the U-Haul truck broke down, I remember my daughters painting their room as we bought a house. You never forget. And it's because the move is so unforgettable that you got to have great partners that can help you do this. Because when people think about their move from one home to the next, they don't just think about their real estate agent, or they don't think about their lender or the title company or the home inspector. It's the entire experience. It's all the same. And if one link is broken in that process, it damages the entire experience. And so working with a great loan officer, it's a big part of the equation. And really what we're trying to do, what we believe our mission is that because people don't move very often, we want to provide them the kind of buying and selling experience they're excited to tell a friend about. You got to have great partners to do that.
Yeah. And like I told you before we started this call, we're thinking about moving up to the Sacramento greater region. And so this is near and dear to my heart. And I don't know what people do that don't have Rick Fuller or have Sadie Benson, because it is overwhelming. So thank you both for loving your jobs and doing a great job. So Sadie, 2020 and 2021 have been unique years that have undoubtedly impacted the real estate industry. Rick and I have discussed this from an agent's point of view, but I would love to hear the behind the scenes insights that you can share from a broker perspective, a mortgage broker perspective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, 2020 was just a whirlwind of craziness. And it seems like just when we would figure it out from a lending standpoint, another curveball would be thrown in the way. So everything from making sure that borrowers, buyers are still employed down to the wire being sent from the lender, and that their industry wasn't put on hold, that paychecks were still coming in. That side of it has been, you know, the chaos, stressful, scary side of, are you going to be able to afford your mortgage? Is your job secure type of a thing? But then there's this entirely different fun side of it that I don't think any of us saw coming. Anybody who experienced the recession, the 08, you know, the Great Recession, I think we were all a little gun shy as soon as this started happening, going, oh, we already took the hit in the mortgage and real estate world really hard. And I would be lying if I didn't say I was hesitant that it wasn't going to hit us again. And it's been this strange phenomenon to where you can borrow money below the rate of inflation. I'm encouraging my buyers and borrowers to keep as much money in their bank accounts and put as little down as possible. And that's a totally unique shift from where we've been in the past. So where you're better off having all the money in the bank and a larger mortgage as long as you can afford it. You have to sleep with the payment at night, but you can take those funds and invest them elsewhere and still see this return on your real estate investment that, Rick could correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen it slow. Houses are still appreciating like they were, and interest rates are still historically low. It's mind-boggling. And so with a finance degree and an economic stance and all of that, I look at it and go, I don't know how long we can sustain this, but for buyers and sellers, this is a phenomenal market to be involved in.
You know, what I like about what Sadie said is that we are in uncharted territories, at least in our lifetime with the pandemic. And that impacts the economy, which impacts your local business and my local business. And the value of having reserves, money set aside, retained earnings if you're a corporation, or just a flat out savings account. Having money for a rainy day has never been more important, because the COVID and the implications in certain industries that the government says can't open, or you're deemed essential or you're not deemed essential, and all of these changes that are occurring, having money in savings is is really critical. And Sadie's right. We've been on a 12-year bull run on the real estate market. The California Association of Realtors thought that the market would appreciate 2% throughout the state of California in 2020. They had to revise it because it went up over 8%. And in the Bay Area in Sacramento, it was up over 10% year over year. The market climbed 10% and it continues to climb. And if you're buying a property, you might say, oh, well, is it too late? Is that creating a bubble? Let me tell you, that's the market you want to buy a home in. Now, it makes it frustrating, as Sadie said, to find a home. There's not a lot to choose from. That's very real. It can be a little frustrating competing with multiple offers. Sometimes you got to pay more than what they're asking for on the property. The list price isn't often the sales price. That's real, that's genuine, and that happens. But this is the market that you want to buy in. And I say that because the worst fear of a home purchaser, the absolute worst fear, is that the market crashes, is that the market drops, is that the market doesn't continue. And what we know is that there's just not enough inventory. There's great demand for real estate. And the Association of Realtors, most economists, and including ourselves, we're projecting that the market's going to continue to rise throughout 2021. Home values are going to be worth more in a year from now than what they are today. And if you buy into this market, you're buying into a market that currently has the environment for prices to continue to rise. And that's the market that you want to buy in, so that, often people say, I wish there were a bunch of homes available. I wish I was the only buyer out there. I wish I could write an offer and have no competition. Well, if you wish that and you were to get your offer accepted, next month your home is worth less. Next year, your home is worth a lot less because it's supply and demand. And we're in a market where demand's high, supply is low, values continue to rise, and the actual intrinsic value of being in your home has never been more important. Working from home has never been more important. My oldest daughter, attends a private college, private university in Southern California, which means that she's homeschooling in my garage. That's what college at a private university looks like. Home has never been more valuable intrinsically. The emotional value of homes have never been more valuable than what it is today. So getting the right financing, having the right real estate professional, buying in the right community, it's really imperative.
So Sadie, I'm sure everybody's asking you right now too, are mortgage rates going to hover around 3%? I mean, in the 80s, it was 16, in the 90s, it was 8, and now it's 3, like unheard of. So is everybody asking that to you? And what's your answer?
Yeah, so my answer is the same every time. If I knew what mortgage rates were going to do, I wouldn't be sitting here. I think we can assume, given the current trends, mortgage rates will stay stagnant-ish for the foreseeable immediate future. As long as we've got COVID, I would imagine the federal government is going to keep rates low. I don't know what this is going to look like when we come out of it from an economic standpoint and the recovery begins. You might see the federal government, keep rates low. There's a word for it, and I'm drawing a blank on it. Artificially low is what I was trying to come up with, to keep the economy stimulated. I have been saying that rates have to go up since 2010. I don't know anymore. Everything that I know from everything I've learned in economics is completely out the door right this minute. So I don't know. I do know that we're not in a bubble. People are shy of this bubble, the bubble, because we all lived in the bubble.
Right.
The 2008 housing crisis was a totally different circumstance than anything that we're experiencing now. You had falsified income documents, you had fake appraisals, you had all of these things with the scary fraud associated with it, if you want to use that word. Nobody is buying without money that they don't have, on values that aren't verifiable, and with incomes that they can't afford to make the payment. So this idea that this housing market is going to crash, I don't believe that from a lending standpoint, because everybody buying right now is qualified to buy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sadie, I think you're right on. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, said, I think one of the most shocking statements this year, earlier this year, that I've heard during this entire pandemic. And I'll paraphrase it since I wasn't planning to talk about it, but he simply said that until the end of 2023, they have no intentions of making any sizable change to the Fed rate. Now you think about that. The stock market last year dropped nearly 35%. Real estate market's been on the bull run that we've talked about. You've got certain industries that are closed, and you have the Fed chairman saying, hey, I'm deciding that regardless of what happens in the economy, rates are going to remain low. And that is the fuel to our fire. If the lumber on our fire is inventory, then the fuel to our fire is the low interest rates, because it makes home ownership more affordable. It also allows you to drive more of your monthly payment to the principal balance, because there's always two ways to create equity. The home can rise and appreciate. We talked about that. But there's another way. You can pay down your mortgage. Both of them build equity. That gap between what the home is worth and what you owe is called equity. And that's how you do it. And so we're seeing an environment where our Fed chairman is saying, listen, we're going to keep rates low for the next couple of years. And that's shocking, just like you said, because what you think, for the last 5 years, I've heard commercial after commercial after commercial that say, low rates, get them while they last. Low rates, we're almost out. Low rates, don't miss out. And still today, in the first quarter of 2021, we are at extremely low rates and likely below what that of inflation.
Yeah.
And Rick, in the past year, we've worked together and we've created two amazing tools. I'm really proud. We worked really hard on these, and it's for people who are looking to relocate. The first is called the California Great Migration for Bay Area residents who are looking to move up north to the greater Sacramento region. And the second one that we created is Rick's Pros for those who wish to move out of the state of California. Can you share a bit about what you're seeing with clients who want to relocate, and what should we know about this transition of buyers and sellers?
Well, Christina, you once were a school teacher, an elementary school teacher, right?
High school.
High school teacher. And in 5th grade, the textbook taught us that, the history textbook taught us about the Western Hoe, the migration from the Midwest, the gold rush to California, the original 49ers. And people moved from the Midwest, they moved from the East Coast, and they came west. Today, we're seeing a U-turn. They landed in San Francisco, they landed in Los Angeles, and they created these massive megapolises, these urban environments. And for the last 10 years, you've seen people migrate and move not west anymore, but now they're moving east. And those that are in San Francisco, the #1 destination for San Francisco County, San Mateo County, the peninsula, the #1 destination is the East Bay. And they are moving from urban to suburban, and they're making that migration. And now with COVID, even more so, because they don't have to work in Oakland, they don't have to work in Emeryville, they don't have to work in San Francisco, they don't have to work in San Jose or San Mateo or Burlingame. They can work from home. 80% of office employees are now working from home. Then those that were in the suburban communities, that's our area in the San Francisco Bay Area, where we have offices throughout the Bay Area. They are moving continued east, and they're moving northeast, and they're moving to Sacramento. Just the same thing that Sadie did. And they're making this move to the greater Sacramento region, the Roseville, Folsom, El Dorado Hills, Citrus Heights, and Elk Grove, and they're making the move continued east. And here's the amazing thing is after that, they're moving out of state. And we see states like Colorado, Arizona, certainly Tennessee, Texas, being the destination of Bay Area residents. And so we wrote a book about this migration. Christina, you've been a huge help in doing that, called The California Great Migration. We documented why people are making the move and then how to make the move effectively. Then we opened up offices throughout the Sacramento area so that we could better serve our clients moving from the Bay to Sacramento. And we could help them sell, we can help them buy, and partner them up with great lenders like Sadie so that they could get great financing, and they had the kind of experience in moving that they were excited to tell a friend about. So that was the Great Migration. The title of the ebook, it's free. We did not charge for this. This is just informational for our clients. And you can get it at the California Great Migration, cagreatmigration.com. Then what we found, Christina, is that people didn't know where they wanted to move. They knew they wanted to move out of state, and they had friends and family that were in Idaho, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, to Texas. Tennessee is a popular place. Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee is exploding in population, but they didn't know where they wanted to go. So we went out and made connections and really logged and created a directory of all of my relationships nationwide. And we nearly have every state covered and parts of Canada. And so somebody can go to RixPro and they can look at any of our professionals. They can read, they have two parts. They read about the community and they read about that professional. And if they like the area and they like the community and they want to explore real estate, then you just fill out the information and the professional gives you a call and they start walking you through what kind of properties they have in their community and what the values and amenities of their community are. And so it's a free resource for our clients. So all they have to do is they can explore all these different states, and now they can be partnered with a professional that understands customer service, they understand the market, they know that community inside and out. We called it RixPros, and it's all of these resources, including the Great Migration, can be found at rixmarketupdate.com. And so super easy, it's free, and it's a resource for our clients, a directory of real estate professionals throughout the United States. And you know, there's a lot of directories for agents, but I don't find one that actually highlights the communities that they're in. And this is what we wanted to fix. We wanted to find a way to say, this is the best of our community so that our California residents could explore various communities online and then select which one might be best for them and then contact those agents.
Yeah, and we have about 90 agents on it right now. So all these agents are so eager to help our clients. I've been getting tons of emails and messages from these agents who are just excited to serve our clients, which is awesome.
And they know the community, and they're all part of a coaching platforms that I've been coaching with. So they know our model, they know who we are. They're not distant relationships. They're people that we know, and they know us. And we just created a directory. And the idea is that, going back to what we said at the beginning, people don't move very often. They deserve to have the kind of experience. Now, that could be the kind of experience moving to Sacramento. It could be the kind of experience moving to Arizona or Colorado. And Sadie, you do financing in those markets as well. And so if they connect with Sadie, that Sadie can help them with that as well.
So obviously we're talking a lot about relocating. So Sadie, what should people know from a lender's point of view? How do they get started and what are their options? How do they even start? This is a big process.
Yeah, it is a big process. I think it's actually easier from a lending standpoint than from the real estate standpoint. So mortgages aren't this big scary thing anymore. You'd qualify or you don't, and we just do the paperwork and you move in. The hard part is what Rick and his team really do, and that's finding you the house. It's a tough job, and I can't tell you how much I admire people who are able to do it effectively. All that being said, though, I think the biggest things when you are relocating with a distance of, 100 miles or more per, so to speak, there's a couple of things that people really need to keep in mind. One is, are you switching jobs? Do you have your income lined up? We are going to verify that you can still make your mortgage payment. So if your company can't tell you and verify to us in writing, yes, they can work from that location, underwriters are going to really start to ask questions about this commute that you're taking on. So those types of things are the main questions that I would ask up front. Are you switching jobs? Are you keeping the same job? Can you work remotely? That type of a thing. Secondly, are you selling the home that you're currently in? If you are you going to back yourself into a corner to where now you have to verify that you, or if you aren't, excuse me, can you afford both payments simultaneously? Because with this market, you don't want to end up homeless. So you've got to really play the the right game of making sure that we have your mortgage payment currently, if you have one and you're not renting. Can you afford that and your new mortgage payment, even if it's just for a month or two, so that you can get into the new place and then sell your other one afterwards? So those are the things that I like to make sure people think of. Your real estate agent's going to make sure you're thinking of that also. You're not just going to go, oh, I didn't think about that I have to live somewhere. But it's the one thing that pops up more frequently than others. And then finally, it depends on your type of financing. So if you're in an FHA home now, for example, and you want to buy another FHA loan, we have distance requirements for how far that another home has to be to qualify for that same type of financing. So that's where I come in and make sure that we're dotting the I's, crossing the T's, you're doing it all right to begin with, so that we don't get halfway through your loan process while you're in contract to buy your new home and go, oh, we can't actually fund because I didn't think of this. So that's my job, is to take the questions out of it. Really, the buyer's job is just to give me the documentation I need to prove to the underwriter that you can buy the house.
Mm-hmm. And with the market being so active right now, and there's not a lot of inventory, is there different financing for, let's say, a new build versus a resale house?
Yes, so it depends. I like the word active. It's an active market. You know, new builds, anybody who's in the market for a new build will find that they're going to try to get you to use their lender, and they will entice you every which way possible. And 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to beat what the builder is offering you. Mm-hmm. So that just is how they work with their, you know, whole industry. There is, I don't know that there's a different program that I recommend to people in this market per se. I think the thing that I have to do is make sure that whatever lender we're sending you to can close within your contractual guidelines. So you might have a lender that can close in 21 days today, and then 3 weeks from now, they're so bogged down that their turn time turns into 60 days. And it's my job to be on top of that so that you don't end up backed into a corner and missing out on your contractual guidelines.
Mm-hmm. That's good information. And Rick, with the active market, which is right on point, and it takes a long time, 21 days or longer. So why is the relationship between an agent and a lender so important? What have you found, and what are your agents going through right now?
Well, you're absolutely right. The market, there's just not enough homes for sale. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them, builders cannot keep up. And we see supply chain damage, meaning that, you know, I tried to buy a refrigerator for a house a couple of months ago, and the refrigerator was on back order, took 6 weeks, and it was the only refrigerator they had. All the other refrigerators that Lowe's was selling was not available. Well, why? Because manufacturing's not occurring, plants are closed, distribution centers are closed. So you've got all of these complications are associated. Now you multiply that with a builder for roofing material, you multiply that with windows and appliances, and you've got a supply chain problem. Then you have a labor problem, Christina, because what's happened is for the last several decades, educational institutions have taught, go to get a 4-year degree, go to computer science, go into artificial intelligence. Look, all that's great, and we're advocates of it. We talk a lot about that on these podcasts. What they didn't say is become a roofer, become a drywaller, become a plumber, and become an electrician. So we do not have enough skilled tradesmen. There's not enough journeyman contractors in the market today in any of these. So what we find is that this all provides huge restrictions to the ability to build homes. And then you found that about 5 years ago, builders would say things like, it just doesn't pencil out yet. And so you had this self-imposed moratorium on real estate that it just wasn't enough building. You multiply that with this migration that's occurring, the mobility that's happening, and you don't have enough homes for sale. And that's why we jokingly say the market's active. It's not only active, like it's on fire. There's not enough homes for sale. In the city that I'm speaking to you in, you could see every home. We have 120,000 people that live in it. You can see every home in a weekend. There's just not enough homes for the population. 34 years ago, there was a baby boom. huge boom of births 34 years ago in the United States. Guess what the average age of a first-time home buyer is today? 34 years old. You combine this with low interest rates, and now you have an environment that is creating incredible competition for real estate. And I'm telling you, that's the market you want to buy in. Don't buy in a market where there's lots of homes for sale. You're the only buyer. You make an offer on the property, you get it accepted. There's no competition, because then the market's going to drop. Prices are going to drop. You don't want that. You want prices to remain healthy and strong. And so that's what the challenge is. And when you have those challenges, you need skilled professionals that can navigate you through that. There are sometimes we need to adjust a pre-approval letter, or we need different types of financing, or we need to take into consideration homeowners association or assessments, and working with somebody like a Sadie can be very, very helpful in navigating these very, very quickly. The homeowner, the buyer has no idea that the homeowners association or the special taxation or special assessments in this market impact their affordability on real estate or impact their pre-approval letter. But Sadie knows it, and she's able to draft the letter in such a way where our offers can get accepted and our homeowners can get property and they can move into homes and close escrow. And you know, a lot of builders, Sadie's right, they have their own lenders, and they also have their own realtors. But I'll tell you, they generally wear the name tag of the builder they're representing. They don't wear the name tag representing you. They're not representing you. And so I'm always an advocate, at least get a second opinion. There's no harm, no foul. Call Sadie and say, listen, I'm going to buy this new home, new construction. It's in Sacramento, Roseville, Folsom, El Dorado Hills, all that entire market. Give me a second opinion. And I will tell you, if I'm in that place and I'm buying a home that is oftentimes $500,000 to $750,000, I kind of want somebody who's representing my best interest, not the builder's best interest. I get it that it drives revenue to the builder's bottom line, but I need them looking after my bottom line and getting it, because you don't want the American dream to become the American nightmare. And the wrong mortgage, you might move into the home and you settle in, but your mortgage is going to come around again next month and the following month. The right mortgage can make your home ownership an American dream of ownership. The wrong mortgage makes it an American nightmare.
That's such great advice. And Sadie, rates are on fire right now. We talked about that. And I'm seeing lots of commercials on TV and on social media. And it's funny because some of them say like 1.79%, which is ridiculous. And so can you tell our listeners a little bit about what to be aware of? Because, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so there's a lot of catches and things. So can you tell people what to be aware of, and warn them about these scams that are out there too?
Yeah, absolutely. And Rick couldn't have set that up on the tee better for me. I'm not going to quote rates, because if I do that wrong without the proper disclaimers, lots of guidelines come back at me on that one. So I will say a couple of things I actually just posted on my personal social media right in the middle of Super Bowl. There was a bunch of ads for a specific lender, and my comment on that was, they have to pay for these ads somehow. It's a lot of money to have a Super Bowl spot. So those funds are going to come from your rate or from your fees that they're charging you. So as Rick said, the people who work for the builder have a builder's name tag on it. If you go into Wells Fargo, you go into Bank of America, you go into your local credit union, those people are wearing a Wells Fargo name tag when they're helping you with your home loan. I have worked for banks. This is true. So what I usually say is, if you insist on going to your local bank because you like them and you want an opinion from them, go to a mortgage broker as well. Mortgage brokers work for the buyer. So I don't work for a bank. I don't have shareholders I have to answer to. I don't have bottom lines and profits and all of these things that have to be met in a specific level. I work for my buyers and for my customers who I'm refinancing. If I don't have the best loan, you're not going to go with me, and I know that. So I offer incredibly competitive rates, incredibly low fees, and I'm going to tell you these are your options with different lenders, because that's what mortgage brokers do. We have different lenders we're qualified with, and then we can send them based on your specific lending needs. So you may go into, I'm going to use Wells Fargo as an example. I'm not trying to pick on them today. It just keeps popping up. But you might go into Wells Fargo and they might decline your loan. That doesn't mean you're not qualified for a mortgage. It means you're not qualified for a mortgage with Wells Fargo. You could come to me. If I decline your loan, you probably aren't qualified. And that would just be because I have access to so many different lenders with so many different options. And then I can tell you, this is why you're not qualified. Or I can say, you know what? Somebody will do this. Nobody I have access to will. So that's kind of the difference in what people really need to look out for is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you're being offered a rate that seems much lower than everybody else's rate that they're being offered, you're paying for it. I mean, people are only borrowing money at the exact same, the feds are lending money at a certain rate. Nobody has access to it cheaper than that. So if it seems too good to be true, you're buying down your rate or you're paying fees up front or that money's getting into there somewhere. And so I highly recommend shopping a mortgage broker. Don't not go to your bank, but go to a mortgage broker as well and compare your loans.
That's great advice. And Rick, do you have any final tips or suggestions for buyers and sellers who are trying to navigate this market?
Don't give up. Stay the course. I know it's tough. Hey, we're being real and transparent here. It's an active market. Is the nicest term that we can use for it. I will tell you, do not give up. It's not enough to start the race, you got to finish the race. So if you're going to own real estate, think about real estate not as a short-term investment. So it's not the process of buying a home or the process of searching for the home. It's a long-term process. Frankly, it's a lifelong process. And you become from a homeowner to an investor. And today we find investors tend to be in three categories. You have some investors that are they're spectators when they think about real estate. And when they think about real estate, they're spectators and they're just watching things. They might be renting, they may not own a home, they might even be living with parents, which is very common today, and they're spectators. They're up in the stands watching the game, an armchair quarterback, right? But then you have real estate investors. They make a wise decision. They invest in real estate. They're on the field. They're making decisions based on the plays, based on the market, and be a great real estate investor. But there's a third level that I always recommend for everyone. And this is a lifelong venture. It doesn't happen overnight, but become a real estate collector. Be a collector of real estate. Now, when I was a kid, you collected Hot Wheels. I was with someone the other day and they were a big baseball collector. They collected baseball cards. Be a collector of real estate. Love the product, love real estate, and be a lifelong collector of real estate. And you will find markets come and go. Property markets appreciate, markets depreciate. There are buyers markets, there are sellers markets. And if you are a real estate collector, you buy it right, you hold it right, you manage it right, my word of advice to you is you will be happy. And I've said this for years, not owning real estate is hazardous to your wealth.
Thank you. And Sadie, if somebody wanted to connect with you, how could they find you?
Sure. The easiest way to get in contact with me, honestly, is by my cell phone. We're all working remote these days with COVID, so I have my cell phone with me at all times. That number is 720-778-7574. There is always that group of people that literally doesn't want to talk. You never meet them through the entire transaction. They could care less that you exist at all. For those people, you can go directly to my website and apply online, and that's applywithsadie.com. It's not a fancy site. Like I said before, when you have things that you build to a certain extent, you're paying for them on the mortgage side. So that is a really basic site that just takes you directly to a loan application. But really send an email, sadie@ccflender.com. Any of those three ways is an easy way to get a hold of me, and I communicate however the buyer prefers. So if you want to text, we'll text. You want to call, we'll talk.
Great. I'll put that information in our description on our podcast and on our YouTube videos. So they can have that and at any time they need it. And Rick, can you tell me again about where can they get your ebook, California Great Migration, and also connect with out-of-state agents?
Yeah, so you can go to Rick's Market Update and connect, and there you'll learn more about the state of the California real estate market and get to Rick's Pros. If you're wanting to move from the Bay to the greater Sacramento region, which includes the Roseville and Folsoms and El Dorado Hills and Citrus Heights, go to cagreatmigration.com, download our free ebook, and use that resource to help you along the way. I guarantee you it's going to make things easier for you. You're going to have a better experience. And if you just want to connect with us on social media and hear more about these topics, go to connectwithrickfuller.com and connect with me on any social media platform, and we'll keep you updated on what's happening to the market and where we see things playing out so you can make good decisions.
Great. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Rick and Sadie, for sharing valuable information that we're not going to find anywhere else. You're giving us the truth and you're telling us how to buy and sell. So thank you so much. Join us next week when Rick and I discuss how Prop 19 will impact property owners. So that's going to be really valuable and really important. Thank you, everyone, for spending part of your day with us. Be sure to give us a great review from whatever podcast platform you're listening from, and we hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Take care.